Welcome back. We're now fully in the top half of my list, so let's get right into them. Number 40 on my list is from 2017 and set in Scotland in the 19th century, in which Scotland was transitioning from an agricultural society into an industrialized one. This is Clans of Caledonia. Each player represents a historic clan competing to expand their wealth and influence through trade, production, and export. Now, on a player's turn, they're going to do one of the possible 8 actions, from building to upgrading, trading, and exporting and importing, and players are going to be expanding their production ranges to collect more raw materials to process them into items to hopefully export. Now, one of the main reasons why I enjoy this one so much is the varied clan abilities. At the start of the game, each player gets their clan, which will allow them to do a special ability for one portion of the game. Integrating your ability into your strategy is definitely, as usual, a fun puzzle. I also really enjoy the market in this game. It fluctuates with every transaction by the players, so getting the timing right is important. At the end of game, scoring of the import goods is a piece I always enjoy as well. Depending on where they end up, the different import things are going to determine the final VP. The more rare an import is, the more points it's worth. So with a depth of strategy and low randomness combined with a satisfying economic engine building mechanism means this game is my number 40. Next is number 39 is another Steffenfeld game, and this time it's Carpe Diem. Players take on the role of Roman patricians, developing their districts to gain prestige and victory points. On a player's turn, they're going to move their pawn to an adjacent warehouse space with tiles. They'll pick one and place it into their personal board, basically to building up their district, taking things like villas, markets, farms, and fountains to put into your own little area. One of the best bits of Carpe Diem is the scoring. Once all the tiles have been taken or cleared off for the round, players will place their scoring discs between 2 different scoring tiles, which are randomized for each game. Because the scoring tiles are in a grid, it means that combination of scoring can never be scored again in this game, which I just find so intriguing. Each movement and tile placement offers a good decision point in this game. You're having to balance long-term strategy with tactical choices, and find the right balance is a whole lot of fun. I find that each time I play with those definitely the scoring tiles that are mixing up, it brings a new puzzle to solve, and that's why it's my number 39 on my list. 38 on my list is called Broadhorns, Early Trade on the Mississippi. This is another one of my games that you may not have heard of. Players take on the role of 19th century traders along the Mississippi, picking up goods in St. Louis and moving them downstream to the other towns. Now, the game is played over 4 seasons, and your produce and speed will be affected by the season, but it's all going to be through event cards. Players can upgrade their boat to increase cargo capacity or speed down the river. Each spot along the river will take goods, but some of them will pay a premium for certain goods. This is, at its heart, a pickup and delivery game. You'll mainly be picking up goods at the top of the river, but based on your delivery and options further down the river, you may purchase goods along the way. They tend to be more expensive, but if the payout is big enough, it might just be worth it to stop and pick them up. This game for me falls into a category I realize that I actually really enjoy. Pick up and delivery games with a relatively low rules overhead, but gives me lots of things to think about when it comes to maximizing my profits. How I make profit is pretty straightforward. Buy low, sell high. But this is where I find enjoyment in these types of games. How do I make that at that moment in time? Do I need to pivot? Do I try and push my boat to race down the river? Or can I do smaller trades along the way to get more profit? I like the addition of the seasonal events in this one, as it keeps things fluctuating and interesting, and why it's my number 38 on my list. Number 37 is Beyond the Sun. Players help guide factions of humanity in settling space and advancing technology after Earth begins its decline. This is kind of a worker placement game where the worker placement spaces expand as the game evolves, and each player can open up a different set of space depending on how they want to expand the shared tech tree. The basic actions at the start of the game will get you resources to settle planets or research new tech, and this is the action that allows you to start to branch out and get more possible actions. Each game the possible tech tree changes, so you're never going to be playing the same game twice. Oh, and I haven't mentioned the other piece of this, and that's the exploration and settling of planets. This is a bit of an area majority piece, which is enjoyable. This is one of those games where I think I have a good strategy going, but I always think, maybe I should have gone that route or that branch to unlock those instead of the ones I took, because those seem to be better than what I have access to. But then the other players are saying the same thing about the available actions I have available to me. It's the fun resource management, multiple paths to victory, and the tactical control in space, which lands this as my number 37. 36 on my list is Boon Lake. Set in a frontier-like region where players lead expeditions to settle, develop, and innovate in this newly discovered land. On a player's turn, they're going to select one of the action strips and move it to the bottom of the action slip selection. Now, then you get to do the main part of that action strip you chose, and then all players, usually including you, can do the second part of that strip. This means that all players are playing on everyone's turn, which I always enjoy. You then get to move your boat down the river based on the position of the action strip you chose. And this downstream progression also controls the length of the game, which is something I really enjoy. It gives you a really good decision on which action to select. Taking action higher up means you have more options for your boat to move, and the lower ones might even cost you victory points. But sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and take the action that you really need irrespective of where it is. All this interesting action selection decision is in support of kind of what you're doing on the main board. There are going to be tracks to go up, resources to get, buildings to build, and cards to play, and more. And for me, it's actually that card play that I enjoy so much as well as the action selection. Each card has a cost, and this is paid for from your production sites where your boat sits in your stream. Manipulating your boats is critical to being able to pay for cards. This game has a lot going on. I never feel I do as well as I want to, but it keeps me coming back to try again, and why it's my number 36 on my list. Next is number 35, and it's called Murano, and has to do with glass-making islands in Venice. Players take on the role of glass merchants, looking to make beautiful glass to sell to the locals and to appease their secret character cards. Now, the main mechanism in this one is probably the most interesting part of the game, and the reason why it's really on my list. The main board has all the available actions around the outside of the board, along with several gondolas. On your turn, you're going to move a gondola to another action spot where there's no gondola and take that action. But you can't skip over any gondolas. If there are gondolas in your way, you have to pay to move them. A coin for each gondola that you need to move to free up the spot you want to take. This means you can take whatever action you want, but you may not want to spend all that coin to move all the gondolas. The second piece that I enjoy so much in this game is the end of game scoring. During the game, you're going to be able to collect character cards, which will usually have a requirement on them, like have 3 blue buildings on a particular island. But you can only score that card if during the game you've placed one of your gondoliers on that island. Now you can score as many character cards as you want on that particular island. If you don't have a gondolier there, you can't score a card. The rest of the game is pretty solid, but it's these two parts of the game, the action selection through the gondola movement and this end of game scoring by the character cards, which is why it's my number 35 on my list. 34 on my list is actually a newer game. It's called Salton Sea. This has players running companies in the Salton Sea in California, extracting and processing the brine to get lithium and hopefully make batteries. This is a very tight economic game where you'll be trying to balance a whole variety of things, from managing the state of your drill, extracting brine, opening up warehouse spaces, fulfilling contracts, buying shares, or obtaining upgrades, plus more. This game will pull your focus in certain areas, and sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I'm just going to concentrate on this one or these areas for this game. What sets this game apart for me is actually the multi-use cards. I'll say it with me, I love this mechanism. Your cards have actions on them which match the actions on your player board, but are usually better. Your cards also are worth money, $1, $3, or $5. Whenever you have to pay money, you have to discard cards to cover that cost. Buy a $5 card is great, and the action on it will be more beneficial than matching one on your board, but you're just tying up a lot of your cash in a single card. And here's the kicker, you never get change. If you need to spend $2 and you discard your $5 card, you get nothing in return. There are so many paths to victory in this one, and careful management of your hand of cards is fundamental to doing well in this game. From what cards you discard to pay for things, what denominations you pick to take back, sometimes taking 3 $1 cards may be better than taking a $3 card. Often in this game, when doing the final scoring, there'll be an area or two where I score very little points. And I'm okay with that. It means next time I might shift my focus or try something new, and that's why it's my number 34 game. Number 33 on my list is Anachrony, a game about time travel and the end of the world. Players take on the role of a leader of one of the paths which have a different ideology to rebuild the world as they see fit. And now, with an asteroid coming, you need to plan the escape of the doomed Earth. Main mechanism in this one? Worker placement. But what sets this one apart is the aspect you have different workers, engineers, scientists, administrators, and geniuses. There's also 2 areas to send them. You can send them outside, for which you will require an exosuit, or they can use actions on your player board, which do not require suits. I also love that you have differentiated workers in games. Makes things more interesting. But another thing that sets this game apart is that time travel aspect. You can borrow resources from your future selves, but you must replace them before time catches up. You'll be doing paradox rolls for the items that you've borrowed from the future, and you may receive some anomalies. These could result in adding anomalies to your board to tie certain areas up, or making one of your buildings unusable until it's removed. The worker placement actions themselves are your kind of typical spots. Gain resources, build buildings, recruit more workers, and the like. But at the end of the 4th era, the asteroid hits, signaling the end of the game is near. Players only have a few turns left to evacuate their people. Although this is a heavier Euro, I do find it pleasingly thematic, and combine that with the differentiated workers, the time travel theme, and mechanisms, and that makes this my number 33 game. 32 on my list is another Stefan Feld game, and this is one of his newest ones, Civolution. The theme for this one is definitely a little on the weird side. Interesting, but weird. Players take on the role of local deities guiding the civilizations through a final exam from the Technical Academy of Creation. Yeah, like I said, it's weird. The core mechanism of this one is dice placement. At the start of each round, you're going to roll your dice to be used in the subsequent round. On your turn, you're going to use these dice to perform an action, and each action requires a different set of dice, value, or color combination. There are 22 actions available to you, from upgrading modules, expanding your territories on the main board, producing resources from the main board, or maybe researching new technologies. It's this whole dice management piece that I find so engaging for this game. Looking at what is rolled and figuring out the best way to use my actions. You can choose to reset your console as well, but that will be limited based on the player count of how many times you can do that. Like a lot of Feld games, there's a lot of avenues you can pursue, and everything will be beneficial. But find the right path to take on a given play, given the randomness of the die rolls and the randomness of the card draws, makes it a fun combination of longer term strategy with technical responses to kind of to that randomness. Each time I play this one, I find I have more to explore, and that's why it's my number 32 on my top 100 games. So the last one for this section, number 31, is another one from my favorite designers, but it's not a Feld. This time, it's Oda. And this game is Cooper Island. In Cooper Island, players are settling a newly discovered island, each player on a different peninsula of the same island complex, and they're going to be building up their own areas. Players do have ships that travel around the island and can actually end up on other players' ports to score maybe some extra points at the end of the game. This game is only played over 5 rounds, and that's nowhere near enough. And that is what this game is all about. It's an incredibly tight game where every single action and coin earned or spent needs to be thought through thoroughly to make sure it's the right move to be making. During these 5 rounds, you'll be placing workers to take actions, and the actions are themselves going to be pretty straightforward. Building structures, gaining income, advancing ships, or maybe trading resources. One of the neat aspects of this game is that as you build up the land, you'll be placing tiles on top of empty areas, then placing a cube on top of that. So if you add a forest on top of another forest, so now there is a stack of forest tiles. When you place a cube on top of it, it will represent multiple resources of the same type, depending on how high that stack is. Careful management of these resources is key, and knowing when to spend them to clear off a section, so maybe you can add more later, is critical. When building buildings, you want them on the higher group, but that cuts off your ability to use that stack of tiles to get resources. It is a very, very careful balancing act of what makes the best long-term strategy so integral to this game, and why I like it so much. The game is so tight on resources and actions that you cannot afford to make any improper use of your current resources. You cannot afford to make any mistakes. This is just what I'm looking for when I have my mindset on a really thinky heavy game, and why it ends up being my number 31 on my list. So there you have it, my number 40 through 31 games. I'm sure you're really starting to see my preferences come through. There are a couple of key things I tend to gravitate to in games, and you're seeing what I think are the best examples of my preferences. Will you see a further Feld game? Will you see another Oda game? For sure. But that's it for now. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks for watching this video. Check out our channel. We have a lot of videos on our channel. We have live videos that go up each week, from live Q&As to videos where we take a look at the newest stuff on Kickstarter, crowd surfing, to top 10 lists and more. There's lots of stuff on this channel. We encourage you to explore it. You can find out more at our website, dicetower.com. I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower.